morning, good afternoon, good evening. I must say I was surprised to hear Minister Ziyambi Ziyambi struggle to define what one man, one vote was all about. But I must admit, I'm not surprised that he struggled. This is a regime that has never believed in one man, one vote. And the political machinations to try to dilute the people's right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country has been at the heart of Zimbabwe's dictatorship. For those of you who didn't hear him, here is the video.
We never had elections. We went to liberate ourselves so that hatirambi zofamba muna first, hatirambi zokuita minja yedu yanga yatorwa anyway. So that we if you listen to Tongo's speech, he says, I don't care whether I'm on upper echelons. All I want, I'm dying, is for my child to sit together and be equals. That was the messaging. So mchavanzwa maovheti akanyuka paindependence vakuenda mabhesi vamwe vacho vachitaura kuti aiwa universal suffrage, one man one vote yakauya 1980. So I just wanted to clear that, so that when you ask them questions, they answer you how where did they learn about universal suffrage? If they say England, you say, but England.
We thought we had gone over this. And so we are being dragged back to the same old argument. What is one man, one vote? We're now being told that we didn't fight for it. But it was at the heart, one of the key demands in the fight for independence. This is contained in the UN Charter, which ZANU-PF pretends that they subscribe to, but clearly they don't. But the point is, how can we be going back on this issue? How can we be arguing on this issue? This is one of those issues that we should have settled by now. But the tragedy with a country like Zimbabwe is that while that was a common goal that everybody accepted, since independence, the goalposts have been moved. Indeed, before independence itself, when the nation was facing its first elections, ZANU-PF moved that goalpost. Let's revisit that point. This is in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article number 21. Everyone has the right to take part in the governance of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. That is one man, one vote. We're quoting it to the white regime Now, all of a sudden, even our Minister of Justice doesn't even know it. The right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country is at the heart of everything here. Zimbabwe is a failed state, and one of the reasons why is that the nation has been stuck with a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical regime that has rigged elections to stay in power for the last 46 years. The right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country is more than just a right. It is the very essence of good governance. Zimbabwe is in a political and economic mess because we have been denied good governance. And this is exactly what we are talking about here. And so to be told that somehow we were not fighting for one man, one vote is pathetic. The minister was talking of we fought for the land. That is, yes, one of the key requirements, demands that the people of Zimbabwe were making. In fact, to the ordinary person, particularly in the rural area, the right to land is more meaningful than the right to vote. ZANU-PF since independence has denied the ordinary people, particularly in the rural areas, title deeds to the land. This was not unique, in fact. Before independence, Ian Smith was told by the late John Robertson, an economist, a Zimbabwean economist and banker, that if he gave the blacks in the rural areas, in the tribal trust lands, title deeds to the land, they would use the land more productively, and more significantly, it will give them a foothold. It will be economic empowerment. If you've got title deeds to the 2 or 5 acres of land, you can go to the bank and borrow money and use that as collateral. You can build yourself a decent home because you know, even if you decide you want to move, you can sell it. People can dig wells, plant trees on that land, and develop it. But Ian Smith said no. His argument was very simple. If I give blacks, economically empower them, the next thing they would want is political power. One man, one vote. And Ian Smith was not prepared for that. Interestingly, John Robertson gave the same economic proposal to Robert Mugabe and his ZANU-PF regime after independence. Made the same argument. And Mugabe, ZANU-PF rejected it for the same selfish political reason. They did not want to economically empower the ordinary people because the next thing they will be asking for is political power. So this whole issue of we have given land to the poor, to the ordinary people is a lie. The overwhelming majority of ordinary Zimbabweans are still living in the rural areas. ZANU-PF has stubbornly refused to give them title deeds. Why? For selfish political reasons. Here is Margaret Dongo speaking to that subject.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for ZANU-PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economically empower these people, they'll go out of hand. ZANU-PF will never have control over them.
That is the truth. That is the tragic truth about Zimbabwe. We've been going round and round in circles, where the issue is very clear. This is the problem in Zimbabwe. Many people have asked, how did we get here? I think we got here because at the time when the decision was made to wage the war of independence, Zimbabwe was not the first country to wage a war of independence. Other countries like India faced the same dilemma. Nehru and his fellow Indian nationalists were confronted with the same question. They asked the rhetorical question, what kind of leaders would an armed struggle throw up? And the follow-up question, would those be the kind of men and women we would want to lead independent India? I think Zimbabwe has given the world an answer to those two rhetorical questions. Our liberation war has thrown the kind of leaders in ZANU-PF who believe they have the divine right to rule the country. And to secure that right, they found it necessary to ride roughshod over the people. One man, one vote is okay if you are committed to democratic rule, to democratic accountability. And the ultimate expression, of course, of democratic accountability is that you can be elected, can be voted out of office. That is the one thing ZANU-PF has rejected from the word go. They have the divine right to rule the country, and per se, your right, one man, one vote, will only count if it's a vote for ZANU-PF. In 1980, the first elections, ZANU-PF agreed at the Lancaster House that they were going to withdraw some of their freedom fighters from the field during the campaign period. They signed the agreement, the Lancaster Agreement, to that effect. But by the time they got back to Zimbabwe, they'd made up their mind that they would leave a significant number of their operatives in the field with instruction that if ZANU-PF does not win the election, the bush war would continue. Out went one man, one vote. The people, of course, voted to end the bush war. And they thought that ZANU-PF would be content with that, not knowing that the next thing was ZANU-PF launching into the infamous Kukura, whose primary purpose was to consolidate ZANU-PF's hold on power. They forced the only other party that constituted a significant political challenge to ZANU-PF's rule, PF-ZAPU, to give up their independence and join up with ZANU, which they finally did in 1987 with the signing of the Unity Accord. And that cleared the way for ZANU-PF to impose the de facto one-party state that has ruled the country to this day. ZANU-PF has shown ever since that it was prepared to kill to retain its iron grip on power. All these amendments, they are all meant to consolidate ZANU-PF's hold on power. The regime is realizing that its popularity is dwindling. ZANU-PF is unelectable. ZANU-PF will never win free, fair, and credible elections in Zimbabwe. We saw that in 2008. They can only stay in power by rigging elections. So all these amendments are to consolidate the de facto one-party state. Tragic. "46 years and counting since independence, and we still have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. We have failed our people the opportunity to exercise their fundamental democratic right to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. We have to fight for that right from scratch. That is truly disappointing. Think about it.